Check out these birds coming over. Right over the top of me. Whoa. Now they're just on top of me. Can you hear that? I just decided to do the reading and it got really noisy. Maybe I can tilt the camera up and you can see them in the rooftop above me. I mean the treetop. I don't know if you can see them. Can you see them? All the birds in the trees. Beautiful. Corellas. Noisy corellas. And there's a chopper and it's all going on here. Even got pooed on by a bird. Isn't that lucky? Hello from a busy Monday morning on the east coast of Australia. It's sunny today. It's the first day in a few days. The river's up just here. These birds are very distracting. Anyway, I came to do a reading for you all. And I'm not going to let the choppers and the phone calls and the people asking me if I've got a billy or anything else to stop me from proceeding. So happy bird reading. Here we go. The question I asked, I got cleared from the sage to ask for us today was tips for surviving through big shifts. Wow, they're really noisy. Because the last few readings were all about big shifts. And it wasn't really clear whether it was positive or negative, just that there was going to be a lot of disruption going on that we would need to adapt to. So I thought we'd dig into that a bit more. And so here's the question. I'm going to throw the coins now. You won't be able to hear them probably hitting the page with all the corellas in the background, but we'll give it a go. We'll proceed with this reading anyway, because I'm being encouraged to go ahead despite obstacles. Okay, so, hello by the way, and welcome to Wallaby Wonders if you're watching on Rumble, and welcome to Delphi Dawn if you're watching on YouTube. So, dear Sage, please, for our beautiful collective of humble, talented people, what are some tips for surviving through the big shifts coming up? Okay, now we have 2 heads and a tail, so that's a yin line. And now we've got 3 heads, which is a moving yang line. So already there's a bit of movement in this situation. Okay, now we've got a yin line again, 2 heads and a tail. Alright, now we've got 3 heads, which is another moving yang line. Again, another moving yang line, 3 heads. One more. Again, same. Wow, there's a lot of movement in this hexagram, and the hexagram is conflict. So, crikey. Hexagram number 6, conflict. And it changes to, let me see. It changes to hexagram number 2, which is all yin lines, which is the receptive. I'll hold it up to you. There we go. That's the first hexagram, number 6, which is usually called something like conflict. And the second one is number 2, which is usually called something like the receptive force. Okay, so is that all the hexagrams, dear Sage, for our reading today? So how do I put it? Should we throw another hexagram, yes or no, dear Sage, for the viewer? No. Okay, thank goodness, because there's a lot of moving lines in there. Now, let's think about this. So the hexagram conflict, number 6, it's pretty much talking about an unavoidable conflict. It doesn't necessarily say whether it's an inner conflict or an outer conflict, although the moving lines would give us some indication about the area of the conflict. So it usually says something about stopping halfway, not pushing the conflict through to the very end and trying to wring all you can out of the situation. That you have to face the conflict, but you can't push too hard. It's sort of like, just go far enough and not too far. You don't want to try and push your opponent into the ground and stomp them down with your high heels. Like, no, you just go as far as is reasonable, because you don't want ongoing conflict over and over and over again, which actually I think the 6th line warns about, getting into a situation of never-ending conflict. So we'll just have a look at the books, shall we? And see what we can derive. Okay, so I've got the I Ching for writers today, and Lillian too. And in the I Ching for writers, it calls it writing dangerously instead of conflict. So that's kind of like using that energy of conflict to your advantage. Like, if you can't avoid the conflict, then you have to sort of face it head on. Okay, I'll read it from Lillian 2's book first. Okay, and I'll just bring the microphone up so that you can actually hear me. So, sung is the Chinese word. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but it's S-U-N-G. It says, heaven and water move in opposite directions, indicating opposing views that lead to deep conflict. Look for a patron, but refrain from advancing your ideas. Okay, so that's sort of saying that if you try and push too far at this moment, you're going to run into conflict. So best just avoid trying to do too much in a situation that isn't harmonious. Okay, so it says here, this hexagram suggests disagreements that stem from opposing views either in your mind or between friends and colleagues. Inner conflict often creates the cause for disputes, disagreements, and sometimes open hostility. The forces that are unleashed will be difficult to reconcile. Such differences can manifest themselves in a number of ways. Between older and younger generations, between those who want war and those who believe in peaceful conflict resolution, between being cautious and throwing cautions to the winds. So I guess there's a bit of a weighing up of which way to go. If you get this hexagram, the advice is to maintain the status quo. This will bring good fortune because difficulties can then be resolved with the passage of time. This is not a time to be egotistical and high-handed. Right, because if there's already conflict present, any arrogance is just gonna make it go worse. And you're gonna have to be very careful to come across humble and to have your inner attitude as humble too, because often even if you don't do something arrogantly outward, there may be some arrogance that you're holding inside, you know, some bit where you're not being humble before God that causes the conflict. You know, maybe it's an assumption that something is yours when actually everything belongs to God. You know, we've just all got custodianship of things for a period of time to care for and to protect and love and cherish. these things are not for us to get egotistical about. So sometimes if it's even just in your inner attitude, you might not do anything outwardly, but the universe knows what your attitude is and it responds to it. So it's a good time to check your inner attitude and be humble inwardly as well as outwardly. You know, every day that we wake up is a bonus, especially if we wake up and we're in good health, or we've got food to eat, or a shelter. So just be grateful for that. You know, that gratitude is a really good way to overcome arrogance. So remember to be grateful for all the beautiful gifts that life has given you, even in times of difficulty. You know, if the earth is solid but under your feet, then that's still something to be grateful for. Look to someone older and wiser to settle your differences. Okay, so mediation, basically. Or some wise advice. Refrain from proceeding in your course of action until the conflicts have been resolved. Okay, so that's not what I said at the beginning. It's actually saying halt. It's like you can't actually go forward in a reliable way with all this conflict going on. When unity does not prevail, success is hard to come by. For love relationships, the oracle predicts conflicts that might be hard to sort out. Better to refrain from saying too much, because words have a way of making things worse. So this is a good time to bite your tongue when you might lash out. The situation is just not favourable right now. For those looking for a change of career or a new job, this hexagram does not promise anything positive. There is inner and outer conflict. Nothing works. Okay, so that's because of the as above, so below, as within, so without, like you have to look at when you've got outward conflicts, what inner conflicts you have going on that might be attracting that. Because clarity on your part will enable you to make clearer actions. The elements. Chen, metal, is above, and Kan, water. Heaven is being exhausted by water moving in separate directions. This hexagram bodes ill for the patriarch. The nuclear trigrams are sun, wood, above, and leaf, fire, so the upper trigram is again exhausted. The elements suggest conflict will exhaust all parties. So yes, it's just a big energy drain. So until it's harmonious, you're not going to get much done. But there's a suggestion as to how this conflict resolves because of the second hexagram, which is 2, which is receptivity, which probably means just being very open-minded and open to suggestion and inspiration, and not trying to push your agenda, but rather allowing yourself to be led. Not necessarily just following people blindly or anything, but waiting until circumstances are more favourable. Alright, so we've got moving lines. Line 2. The oracle advises a retreat. Avoid direct and open confrontation. Okay, so what I said at the beginning, just regard that. It can come out either way depending on which book you read. Okay, but in the book that we were told to read today, it says here to avoid direct and open confrontation. Do not fight your adversary, who is much too strong. You do not have the luck to win. A better strategy... See you, Richard. Nice to meet you. Thank you. You have a beautiful day. You do not have the luck to win. A better strategy is one of reconciliation and the adoption of a peaceful attitude. If you hold steady in this resolve, you will regain your equilibrium and the situation will stabilize. Right. So, I'm just wondering about that, like where this conflict is coming from. It's not actually saying where the conflict is coming from. But a lot of us had to move on from people in 2024. So I'm not sure if this relates to conflict from the past or a new conflict. I'm going to guess that there's probably something coming up in your new situation, because you've already left the old situation behind. But that's not clear at this point. Okay, so line 4 says, losses will definitely be recovered, as this line indicates that luck is on your side, but you will taste good fortune only if you refrain from direct conflict. Okay, so that's telling you twice to refrain from direct and open conflict. Do nothing. Sometimes doing nothing is the best thing. And let fate take its course. The peaceful way will achieve happiness. I think it's too important to remember when we think of doing nothing, that what is yours that God has given to you, or nature or your cosmic frequency has matched you up with, whichever way you want to put it. What God has given to you can't be taken away by humans, even if it seems to be temporarily taken away, or you lose one version of it, it will be replaced by the same thing. Maybe wealth is yours by divine right and by frequency match, and someone tries to steal your wealth from you. Well, they may take that particular material object or material thing, but they don't take your frequency away. If you don't let them bring you down, you stay connected in your mind with the wealth that is inherent to you, and that object will be replaced, possibly even upgraded, because that's a frequency match to you. It's like, as a musician, I see cheap guitars everywhere. It's just like I'm attuned to them. So if someone took my guitar, I would be very sad, because I have a very sentimental attachment to that guitar, and I love the sound and all of that. But heaven forbid, if someone should take my guitar, I would find another one, and I would find it at a really good price, and then I'd probably go busking with it and make the money back that I bought the guitar with. So in a way, you know, my guitar would just be replaced, because that's a match to my frequency. So it helps to remember things like that when it seems like the conflict is like somebody's going to take something that's yours. I mean, I'm not to say don't lock up your camels, you know, trust in God, but lock up your camels. You still got to do all the practical things that you can do to protect yourself and your situation and your chattel. But should something appear to be taken, either it wasn't needed, or it's going to be replaced, or you will get it back later, fully restored. Nature deplores a void. So, and same goes for love, you know, like if it was a love interest or whatever, if they can be taken from you, then it probably wasn't a really good match. And if they are a good match for you, then temporary disruptions is not going to kill it. So in order to have the trust to do nothing in a situation of conflict, you just have to have that trust that what's a match to you will always return to you. Okay, so line 5. A powerful and influential person will help you. Thank goodness for that. Opening new ways for you to move ahead. This is an excellent line to get in answer to your concerns. Hold steadfast and carry on. It benefits to see the great man. The oracle urges you to trust the man who will decide on whatever is causing you the stress. So this could be sagely advice professional advice. It could be a mediator. It could be a judge. It could be, just the head of the family. But trust that advice you're getting. Maybe you're not seeing the situation from you need a bit of perspective, possibly. Okay, so if you trust this person's judgment, and the great man can just mean, that can also mean meditating, and the great man is the sage, or God, or your guardian angels, or your ancestors, or something like that. It's just, a place where you can get wisdom, a person, a spirit, an energy that you can get wisdom. So it can be an expert, it can be God, it can be just that place within inside yourself that's very wise and knowing and calm in situations like this. But it probably, in this situation, because it's mentioned it twice, there probably is some help you need to get from some sort of a third person who has the distance and perspective on the situation and the wisdom to make a fair judgment. So yeah, conflict will be resolved to your advantage. This line brings supreme good fortune. Noting everyday things going smoothly for you. Your journey to work, for example, will reinforce the prediction of this line. And then we get the 6th line, which seems to contradict the other lines. So it seems to me to be a very complex situation, or a situation where you're moving through different stages of the conflict. So 6th line is, your luck is mixed, so there will be good and bad news, success and failure. The scenario here is of battles won and then new conflicts arising. The oracle stresses the bitterness of having to contend with one struggle after another. Better then not to get stressed out. For students, this line predicts excellent grades, but there will be some negative developments as well. I think this is why it's advising you not to get into the conflict if you can help it, is because even if you win this battle, the opposition's just going to launch further challenges, or if it's not an opposition as such, the situation that's causing the conflict. Or if you haven't resolved the conflict within yourself, it's just going to come up in a new way. So it's almost like you're just going to have to pull right back from the conflict in order to get a perspective that stops the conflict from arising in the first place, potentially. But if you are going, maybe you have no choice but to deal with this conflict, in which case it advises you to seek a mediator, a judge, advice from an older, wiser person or an expert. So I guess it's like, don't try to deal with this all on your own. You need help at this point if it's... and you're going to want to try and work for an outcome that doesn't invite you to be challenged again. Because that's what the 6th line is all about. It's like, okay, you get to the end of the battle, you're exhausted, and then all of a sudden somebody comes and challenges you again, and it's just on again, like you barely got to enjoy the spoils of your last battle, and here you are in it again and again and again. So that's the bad potential of the situation, which is why I think it's so important to get help resolving this with a mediator or an expert. I mean, it could, if the conflict's internal, it might be psychological help, like with your spiritual advisor or a psychologist, or do some trauma healing or something like that. But it's going to be very difficult, and therefore very careful to carefully navigate your way through this conflict, so that it doesn't just happen again and again and again. Like, I think in the traditional interpretation of this line, it talks about winning is it a gold sash or a vermilion belt or something like, so you've won the prize basically, and someone comes and snatches it off you 3 times before the end of the day. So it's like you win, but you won for 5 minutes and it was barely worth it. So that's probably why you need mediation, is to avoid that situation where the other person can, just go, oh, well, I'm just going to come at you again. And that certainly relates to a situation I can think of in my life, so I understand that. All right, so let's have a look at the writer's book. So this is a bit of a different take on it. You'll just have to take what resonates. Like the approach that's right for you the line is gonna ring in your head. It's just gonna go ding. So because these two interpretations are quite different, you'll just have to feel what fits for you, or maybe it's a bit of both at different times. Okay, so writing dangerously. I think a little menace is fine to have in a story. For one thing, it's good for the circulation. That's from Raymond Carver. And there's another quote here. It says, I like to write when I feel spiteful. It's like a good sneeze. And that's from D.H. Lawrence. Commentary. This hexagram suggests taking risks in writing. Let your characters go places they wouldn't ordinarily go. All is ultimately empty. All is impermanent. Fire licks the edges of reality. That which we think has substance today will be ash tomorrow. So, yeah, maybe some of these things aren't even worth fighting over. You might be fighting over something that's going to be ash tomorrow. I mean, before engaging in a struggle, you might want to just wonder if it's worth it. If you're struggling over material things or intemperate... is it intemperate? No, that's not the word. Impermanent kind of things. It may not be worth the big struggle. So this one, I guess, is implying boldness as well for dealing with this. So maybe you have to be creative, like the way that you're going to resolve this conflict is by doing something different to what you've done before. Because it says here, let your character... Now remember, we're writing our own life story. That's how I use this writer's I Ching for... I think of it that we're writing our chapters in our own lives. So when it says, let your characters go places they wouldn't ordinarily go, all is ultimately empty, all is impermanent. So maybe the way you've been dealing with this conflict, or you've dealt with a conflict like this and before, is not really going to serve you. You need to try new methods or talking to different people. Try a new approach. And it could even be as just as practical as if the town you're in is causing you conflict, try going to a different town that you haven't been to before. It could be as simple as that. Prediction. Being too careful leads backward. When you step forward, you will skate across the abyss. I said abyss last reading. It's actually abyss. You will skate across the abyss and learn your real name. Advisory. So this is for the creatives. Introduce fire into your poems and stories. The literal image of flames licking buildings, trees, crates, anything flammable. Have a character burn up some papers in whatever you're writing. Have someone in your story make love to someone she isn't supposed to. Write it as though what you write will never... I'll read that again. Write as though no one will ever see what you dare to say. Write as though you were already dead. Stop being so careful in your poems, your prose, and your plays. Well, I think that's for the creatives in the collective here. But yeah, that's got that sort of dance, like nobody's watching kind of vibe, you know. So I guess as much as the other interpretation was talking about being careful and withdrawing and not provoking conflict, this is almost like the opposite. It's like saying, well, but don't get too staid either. Don't get too boring, you know. So maybe you can just find some new things to do that aren't going to create conflict. You know, if you can't do the thing that you want to do that's problematic because, you know, you can do something similar but different that isn't going to create the conflict, or do it somewhere different. Okay. For the writer, a publishing company says it will publish your science fiction, but it needs another 50 pages in less than 2 weeks. Write the first 2 pages of this section, perhaps a robot's inner monologue. So that's just I guess it's just like saying, well, now this whole thing's going on, just bring in a totally new element quickly, because, you know, we just need this new element to finish this creation. So in your life, it could be like quickly bringing in a new element that you hadn't even thought of. Maybe somebody else is going to suggest it, and you'll give it a go, and it'll just bring some completion to whatever you're doing. Okay, so your moving lines. 9 in the second place means you should not give up your cautious writing. If you retreat from writing dangerously, you will benefit your readers. Write for a short time in your usual voice, in your usual form. So there's a lot of that contradictory, because you've got so many moving lines. You've been told, go forward, go back, retreat, be more bold. So I think all of those moves are going to be necessary, and maybe just be aware that you have all of those moves. You know, you don't just drive forward. You have a reverse gear. You have different gears. You could go first gear, second gear, third gear, like the pace at which you move forward might have to change. You know, you might have to accelerate and brake. You might have to go backwards sometimes, or even turn around and go in the other direction, all to deal with staying out of a conflict that's just going to end up on a loop. Like, I think the main objective of this hexagram is not to end up in that situation with the 6th line, where you win the belt after a horrible battle and an exhausting battle, you get your prize, and then someone snatches it off you 3 times that day. So what was it all for? You know, you just got unending challenges. That's, I think, the goal to avoid with this hexagram. Like, there's all these different sorts of conflicts and ways we're dealing with it, but the goal, I guess, is just not to end up in that situation where you think you've won, but it keeps being taken away from you, and you never get to enjoy it. So you somehow have to find a way, probably with the help of the mediator or the wise advice, seeing the great man, which could be a great woman. Let's not be sexist. You know, the wise person. I think the goal is to go and see this wise person, to get the advice, so that this conflict doesn't keep happening again and again and again. You know, like, you just want to finish it, really. A victory where you're only challenged again that same week is a pretty hollow victory. So I guess all the advice here is like trying to find ways not to end up in that situation. Okay, 9 in the 4th place means that you throw up your hands and give yourself up to whatever karma may be yours. You give up trying to control that which is ultimately fate's dominion. Write 1 page in poetry or prose, letting eternal principles guide your writing process. So really it's just another way of saying, you know, tune into the eternal truths and go by those, because you will find your way through this. 9 in the 5th place means that you must seek a mediator who will help you negotiate between writing dangerously and writing cautiously. Oh, perfectly. There we got it. So that's the basic essence of this. What we're trying to get to here is that we need to balance that those two conflicting impulses to be more cautious and to be more bold. You know, courageously going for what you want and being cautious because of the conflict. So a mediator will help you navigate this. Such a mediator could be a person, but more likely will be an aspect of yourself. Well, that's a good clue too. So don't worry if it's not apparent who the great man or the great person is to go and see. Apparently some aspect of yourself knows the answer to this. So if you go within and meditate and be receptive to your own higher self's guidance, the answer will come to you. Okay, 9 at the top means you have triumphed in your attempts to write dangerously. However, the conflict is not over. Pause and write 2 pages about you celebrating a temporary victory over the most cautious aspects of your writing. Okay, so that's the basic gist, I think. So that's the conflict hexagram. And then we have the hexagram, which is... So in the writer's hexagram book, it calls it grounded writing. So it's all about, I won't read it all. Oh, actually, this is very short, so I'll read this. So this is the second hexagram, number 2. And it calls it in this book grounded writing. This hexagram is auspicious. It is rooted in the feminine, the yin, and finds its greatest strength in the earth, the soil, the ground. Do not be afraid to face the darkness. Creativity is strong under this sign. Okay, now just got a flash about that. Don't be afraid to face the darkness and how it relates to creativity. Remember that we're all conceived in the womb, which is a very dark, sheltered, quiet place. So that dark, quiet space is an essential part of creation. You know, just as much as the outward light expression of what you have created, it's important to honor that receptive space, because that's how you draw the creation towards you and the ideas. Okay, prediction. If the right woman guides you, you'll find your creative spirit rejuvenated. So this is the potentiality of the situation, and possibly the way through is to stay grounded and stay in that yin receptive energy. And once again, for those people seeking directions, this hexagram has to do with the south and the west. So if you're thinking about which direction to move to get away from the conflict, then the south and the west are well indicated. Advisory. You and your writing will grow. The darkness of yin is fertile. It invites you to do a kind of writing that is slow, considered, sensuous, and deep. Listen to the rivers. Hear the language of the blood. Write that which is rooted in truth, meaning, and elemental being. Seek earthly companions on the way. For the writer, paint in the darkness. Use words as a flashlight. Okay. Let's see, what does Lillian 2 say about it? Okay, it's only a couple of paragraphs, so I'll read it for you. So this one calls it a multiplicity of things. The silent earth holds hidden strength. Strength comes from the mare. The matriarch's energy will nurture you. Okay, so that's actually fairly clear, because in the previous hexagram it said that the conflict was something to do with a patriarch. So, of course, you know, in the I Ching and tarot and all of that, gender's flexible. It's really about the energy, so it doesn't literally have to be a female. But you're looking for someone or a state of mind within yourself that is that feminine, sensual, earthy, reflective, receptive energy. And this is going to help you through the conflict. And staying grounded, very important. So it's like yin is very earthy, dark, damp, like, well, not damp, but moist. So it's a very fertile space you need to keep yourself in. So, I mean, I'm just getting the flash, even something like this, just going and sitting in the garden on the bough of a tree and earthing yourself could literally be the thing that helps. Like, sometimes when you're feeling crook, feeling sick, I just got covered in bird piss, and so did the book. That's supposed to be lucky. I've just wiped the book. I bought some wipes. Oh, I have to have a shower when I get home. So what was I saying about just that receptive, nice energy will be very healing for you. I can't actually remember the thread I was on, but I'm sure if it's important it'll come back. Okay. Oh, that energy is going to keep you away from the conflict. You know, retreat from that. Because conflict's got, it's a sort of fiery yang kind of energy. Well, for the start, it's got 3 yang lines at the top. So the yang energy is dominating the situation. So to get away from the conflict, you pull away from that yang energy and go into that yin nurturing energy. And that's right, we're talking about the patriarch. So there seems to be a problem that's causing conflict with the patriarch. So move towards the yin energy, the matriarch, while the situation slowly resolves itself. Okay. Yielding. So, you know, it's not shirt fronting them, basically. It's kind of doing the opposite. Oh, that's what I was talking about, healing. If you're not feeling well, just lying on the earth can be one of the most healing things you can do to get your body functioning properly again. It just kind of tunes into the... I haven't got the right words for it, but you get in sync with Mother Earth, and that calms your whole nervous system down. That's not exactly the way I wanted to say it, but we'll continue. So the receptive Kuan signifies Earth, the mother and the purest of yin energy. Yielding overcomes strength and endurance. Yielding overcomes strength, and endurance brings resilience. This image is of the mare belonging to the earth components of the dragon belonging to heaven. Both are images that predict success, and while Shen manifests the best of one's spiritual potential, Kuan manifests the best of one's material reality. So that grounded yin energy is very fertile, and it's going to make you materially in a better space. Getting into the yang energy at the moment and being outwardly active could possibly bring conflict. So you really want to attract stuff to you, like make, to use an analogy, make a fertile garden bed and let the rain and sunshine come and let those plants grow. So it's like your job is making the fertile garden bed where the sun and the rain are invited. There's actually poo on the computer. I'll think twice about recording under the Corellas tree next time. Oh, all right. It's supposed to be very lucky bird poo, so I'll stick with that. All right. This hexagram favours those in supporting roles. So yeah, once again, you're going to avoid conflict if you be supportive rather than try to lead, just for the moment. Everything in the Book of Changes is just for the moment. It's when you get this reading cosmically on your timeline, whenever it appears for you and you feel compelled to watch it, that's when it's time. On another time, it'll tell you to be active and go for it and be aggressive or something like that. But this is a time, because it's a season for everything. In this season, right now, when you're receiving this hexagram, is a time to do the supporting role and to be yin in your energy, to avoid or to navigate your way through the conflict. I personally can't see any conflict around me right at this minute, but it's never wrong. So you can sort of take it as a heads up. Try not to be caught off guard. So when this conflict comes, just, try and stay grounded and try and listen and be receptive and be supportive. We'll do a lot to ameliorate the situation. Okay, so this hexagram favours those in supporting roles. It encourages one to look for a leader. To succeed, allow yourself to be guided. Discard any feelings of partisanship or politics. Rise above factionalism and favouritism. Be like the mother and manifest the largesse of your inner heart. This will bring you ultimate triumph. So this is the key. Right, you will win in this situation if you can manage to be magnificent. It's not the word. Magnanimous. If you can be magnanimous, that's going to help you a lot, I think. Great success is indicated by this hexagram, and benefits arise from perseverance. So just hang in there. There are peace, harmony, and good fortune. So you can be assured that all ends well. Like if you can follow the guidance of this hexagram, although it may take, by the sound of it, some endurance and perseverance to see your way through these conflicts. And there's going to be a few different stages of getting through it. It promises you that you will come out very successful and the outcome will be in your favour. There are peace, harmony, and good fortune. The sighting of a coloured bird preceding this consultation indicates good news is coming your way. Well, I've certainly got birds around me. My birds are white and yellow. A blue or black bird indicates wealth. If the bird flies from the south or west, it brings enormous good fortune. So, right, having birds around you is very auspicious if you get this hexagram. It's an extra reinforcement. Hello, I'm filming. Can you please not interrupt?
Yeah. I'm a traditional owner of this land.
Yeah, hello.
Do you know what you're talking about here?
I'm talking about the I Ching.
The what?
The I Ching.
What's that?
Do you know what you're talking about?
Do you know who I am?
You're someone who's just interrupting me as I'm working. Hello, my name is Delphi.
Hello.
May I ask what's so important that you interrupt me while I'm working?
I am the white dove.
The white dove. Beautiful.
I'll see you, sister.
Beautiful. You have a lovely day.
You have a lovely day.
White dove? I like it. Is that what you want me to call you?
Yes.
Thank you, sister. You have a good one. This has been a very unusual reading. Okay, so Oh, well, you're the good luck then, sister. So, a blue or black bird indicates wealth. If the bird flies from the south or the west, it brings enormous good fortune. So that's the end of the hexagrams. All right, we're on 50 minutes. I'll pull a few cards for us. All right. So, let's see some, I've got some tarot here. We'll just pull a few cards. Maybe it can give us an indication of what this conflict might be about. Dear Sage, help. Let's see a few pictures. What's involved in this conflict? Unbelievable. This is actually the second take. The first take was interrupted as well. I just stopped it. I was literally on camera here and someone comes and goes, "Have you got a billy?" I'm like, you know, people really aren't conscious sometimes. It's like, you're on camera, dude. Anyway, I didn't get his face in the camera. All right. What is the conflict, dear Sage? Conflict, please. That was really very odd. Which is a dove, so I'm guessing that's good luck. Alright. Conflict. Dear Sage, show us some pictures of the conflict. The Lovers. So it involves a choice. So it might be an inner conflict, choosing between doing this or doing that. Or it could be literally a conflict with your lover. But I'm taking it as a choice. I'm guessing that it's choosing this or that, which is going to be the better choice. The logical choice or the heart choice. Which is going to be the stable option. Okay. 9 of Wands. So we've got ships crashing on the rocks here. That's in the other decks, they usually have the guy standing with a big defensive array around him. So it's a situation of needing to defend yourself. But here we've got a boat crashing on the rocks. So stormy seas, I guess. A need to defend yourself. A choice to make. Maybe some repairs to your boat. And that could be your symbolic boat. Because here when we read I Ching and Tarot and stuff, what we're actually having is a journey through the symbolic realm. So here in the symbolic realm, your boat's in danger of crashing up on the rocks. So your boat is what's carrying you through. That could even be your vessel, your physical body. You know, I think there's a couple of people in my collective who have actually been quite crook this week. One was beaten up and the other one had malaria. So in that sense, it's a bit like your boat being crashed up on the rocks. Your vessel may need some time for repair, and you may just, your immunity may be fighting a virus or something like that, potentially. You have to choose wisely to where to take harbour, maybe. Where to take shelter in the storm. What else is this conflict involved, dear Sage? Okay, we've got the Page of Swords in reverse. So the page is fairly immature. He's got an immature mind, and it's not working, it's not in the upright. So he's not thinking straight. This young man, now it doesn't have to be a man, it could just be a yang energy. But so someone immature here is making some... They're on their way somewhere, doing something. They're in motion, and they're not thinking straight. Like, this reminds me actually of my own situation yesterday. We had some young kids running around smashing windows. So the boat just to use it as an analogy, using my own situation as an analogy, the boat would have been our house, and it getting smashed on the rocks is like this, the young kids coming and smashing our windows because we saw them doing naughty things, and so they attacked the witness. You know, we didn't actually do anything to them, but that's why, you know, they're not thinking straight. It doesn't make any sense. This conflict doesn't make any sense. So trying to argue with them is not going to work because they're already not thinking straight. Which is probably why it's saying just, you know, just be maternal and soft. Like, because if you meet this kind of energy, with the same kind of energy, it's just going to amplify and get worse. So you have to counter it with a different energy. So they're upside down, they're not thinking straight, they're all in their head. So balancing the situation out, I guess, means being grounded, thinking straight, and being calm and receptive and listening, because this person is not listening. They're not thinking straight. They're on their horse, or in this reading it's a cloud, so they're, you know, kicking up a cloud of dust. They're not thinking straight. They're probably arguing. They're very probably impulsive as well. Okay, one more picture for what's going on with this conflict. What other elements are in this conflict? A Six of Cups. So memories, fond memories, sweet memories. It's got something to do with sweet memories. Maybe something you're hanging on to from the past, or that this person who's upside down is hanging on to, is affecting their perception. Now, usually this is a positive thing, you know, the sweet Six Cups, the sweet memories and everything. But I think that they could possibly, if you're hanging on to a past that's past, that can lead to delusion. Those times might have passed. But to use the card in its positive sense, it's to concentrate on those things that do bring you joy and peace and harmony. You know, gentle. It's like a childlike peacefulness. It's like happy childhood kind of vibes. And new romance and all that sort of stuff. So that's a helpful energy to be in, so long as you don't get overwhelmed by it. All right. Can you give us a couple of cards for help out of the conflict, please, Sage? Hi. There's lots of passers-by here. I really didn't want to be trapped inside today. It's so nice to feel the wind on my back, the sun, to hear the birds. Dear Sage, please show us something helpful in this conflict. Helpful for the viewer. Something helpful for the collective. What works in their favour. Okay, so I've got the Three of Swords in reversed. So the Three of Swords upright is heartbreak. So heartbreak in reverse. It won't hurt as much as you thought. Or it's already, the heartbreak is past already now, is what's coming to me right now. It's all, the hurt has already happened. There's no point in dwelling on it. It's gone. Or they tried to hurt you, but they didn't succeed. They didn't succeed in hurting you as much as they thought they would, or the heartbreak is now past already. The 3 swords that went into your heart, it's gone now. Don't dwell on it. And maybe the person who put those 3 swords there didn't hurt you as much as they thought they were going to. You're probably recovering very well. What else is positive about this situation? Oh, maybe the conflict's going to help you pull those 3 swords out of your heart. Maybe you will see something about the situation that makes you think that wasn't such a great loss after all. Or I needed to go through that to get to where I am now. Either way, I'd say it either didn't hurt you as much as you thought or they intended it to, or you're healing from it very well and it's in the past now. Okay, on the positive side, please, Sage. So the Knight of Pentacles upside down. So something is very slow. Something's not manifesting. Some plans didn't come to fruition. Something you're working on didn't. So whether it was you who was working on it or someone who was working against you, they didn't succeed. For whatever reason this thing didn't succeed, it's for the good. Whether they didn't succeed in their attacks, these financial difficulties they wanted to put you in, that's one possibility. And the other possibility is that you lost something that was really not helping you. This asset or whatever was probably more of a liability than this property, this thing that you lost was probably causing you more financial strain than good. Okay, another couple of cards, please, Sage. All right. This will have to be the most interrupted video I've made so far, but I'm determined to get to the end. And not let the conflict stop me from being receptive to the Sage's message and enjoying my time in the sun. Okay. I'll just put that back in because it jumped on the other side. We're looking for positives here, please, Sage. What is helpful in this situation of conflict? What's helpful? What's working in our favour? Okay, so the Page of Cups. And in this deck, it's actually, I think, a bit like Narcissus, the original Narcissus, who was looking at his reflection in the pond and falling in love with his own reflection. That's where the whole idea of narcissism comes from. He fall in love with his own reflection. And this is in reverse. So how was this in our favour? The narcissist wasn't successful. Their image of themselves was incorrect, and you can see that now. That's how I'm going to take it. And I'd also say it's sort of probably advising you not to spend too much time staring at your own reflection, worrying about what you look like. It's interesting, these are all coming out reversed. I wonder if I'm holding the deck upside down. Okay. What else is helpful? Helpful in this situation of conflict. So it's helpful that the narcissist is in reversed. Your narcissist is upside down. They're not succeeding. They're not living up to their own image that they wanted to project. So this is probably helpful for you because you can be seen for who you are. And I'd say also it's a warning against too much vanity. Like it's in the helpful section, and it's got staring at your own reflection in reverse. So don't, it's probably in that receptive space that you've just been encouraged to be in through the hexagram, the earthy and receptive space. It's probably saying it's not a time for navel gazing, right? You're not doing this receptive thing to nasal gaze, but more to create fertile ground for creativity and to receive messages from the universe. But yeah, I'd also say your narcissist in your situation, he or she is in reverse. I just got more poo on the computer. I'm definitely not putting the computer here again. Alright, we'll get a couple of elements and we'll wrap it up. This is getting quite a long reading. Okay, so see one helpful. Well, let's take two helpful elements. Now I won't read the cards. I'm not that familiar with them. We're just going to take it at face value. Maybe you'll just let it spark things for you. I won't even necessarily tell you. Helpful, please, for our collective during this time of conflict and receptivity. Tips for surviving through the big shift. Okay, so getting back to the original question, all of this was about tips for surviving through big shifts. So you're advised that there's going to be lots of conflicts and you're going to have to stay grounded and receptive and not to end up in some battle where you have to just keep fighting the same battle over and over again that you're never actually going to win. It's just going to be endless conflict. What you want to do is find a place where you're not going to be in endless conflict, where someone's not going to keep challenging you. Okay, helpful elements, please, dear Sage, for the collective watching this video. Electricity. Okay. Well, electricity is very helpful. I've lived without it at times. I know incredibly how helpful it can be. So, wildness. Okay, so that relates to riding more dangerously, I feel like. That element of you to try something, dance as if nobody's watching. I'm just getting the message here through for those of you who are going through a lot of environmental shifts to make sure you've got some batteries. Make sure your torch has got a battery in it. Make sure your car battery's fully charged. Make sure all your batteries are charged. If your phone batteries, if you see big weather events coming, make sure all your batteries are charged. Maybe have some alternative electricity. And in terms of ourselves, I'd say pay attention to your internal electricity. Are you frizzing out? Are you a bit like, do you have static electricity, or are you nice and grounded? Because I think that hexagram number 2, which is receptivity, is all about the earth. So it's about staying grounded. It's getting that right balance between, which was the main message of the hexagrams too. It's finding that balance between being grounded and stable and active and create. So you don't want to be too cautious nor cause too much conflict. It's the same with your electricity. You kind of you need it to work for you, not against you. So being grounded, you need an earth. You need an earth for your electricity. You do need that energy flowing through you so you can do something. So electricity is helpful. If you're wondering which bill to pay first, maybe pay the electricity bill first. I'm not sure why. Wildness is its second title. So allow yourself to be a little wild, to go places you haven't been before, to see things you haven't seen, to try some new things, to meet new people. Okay, one more card please, dear Sage, and we'll wrap this up. One more helpful thing for our collective one helpful tip for surviving through big shifts. from this deck of elements. Life, breath. Just keep breathing. Breathe. Yep. We all know breathing. You can always work on your breathing techniques. You take a deep breath, take 10 deep breaths if you need to. If you're still breathing, that's the most important thing. You need at least 65% oxygen in your blood to keep going, so make sure you're getting it. Air is very important. Keep breathing. Keep doing your breathing exercises. Regulate your own internal energy and electricity. So you need to stay grounded, but not let your light go out. So it's probably breathing the right amount of air into the fire, so you don't get a raging wildfire, but your fire doesn't go out and it's all smothered. It's keeping that nice balance. Keep breathing. If in doubt, breathe. Ground yourself and listen. Wait for guidance. Tune into that nurturing, yin, motherly, creative, matriarchal energy to get through these conflicts. I say that'll do us, I think, collective. Have a good day.